discovery after a fire completely destroys a Brampton home.
So much scared. I don't know, so much scared.
Human remains found inside the charred suburban home. The homicide unit has now taken over the investigation. What we've learned from neighbors about the people who lived in the home.
Improvements in ventilation and filtration are pretty much a requirement across the board.
Plus, vulnerable to the measles, the urgent new push to fix up outdated schools as concern grows over a potential measles outbreak.
It's been more than 6 years and I still not able to apply for permanent residence.
And a desperate demand from migrant workers, the change to Canada's permanent resident qualification these women are calling for on this International Women's Day. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Starting things off tonight with a gruesome discovery in Brampton. Investigators say after a fire completely destroyed a home yesterday, today police found human remains in the charred aftermath. And the homicide unit has now taken over the investigation. Anam Khan has our top story tonight.
A horrifying house fire in Brampton that began as a fire marshal investigation yesterday is now being investigated by Peel Police's homicide unit.
So much scared. Too much scared. I don't know. I'm too much scared.
The house on Vankirk Drive and Moss Grove Crescent completely engulfed in flames before fire crews even arrived around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. The blaze so intense, a nearby home also suffered fire damage.
All I heard like a big explosion, and then I get out from the house. I see a big flame in my backyard and can't see anything else. Flame and smoke, nothing. And then I see other house catch fire.
Initially, police said no one was injured in the blaze. But today, a gruesome discovery, redirecting the investigation from fire officials to the homicide unit.
Upon discovering that there was believed to have been human remains within the premise, that is when the Homicide Bureau retains carriage of this investigation.
Police have not released details about the remains. Excavators have been sifting through the rubble to find more details. I'm standing on a residence driveway right now because the road is completely blocked off. And you can see behind me, the house has significant damage. It hasn't collapsed, but you can see debris all across the property. And even on the road, you can see glass, which means the windows have been blown out. Charandeep Kaur Singh lives right beside the house that caught fire. Her backyard is filled with shattered glass. Her windows are cracked. She says a family of 3 lived next door for over a decade, a married couple and their teenage daughter. Now, she says she feels traumatized by the incident.
I called my mother in India and I was so crying yesterday, and she said, just take it easy and just relax and meditate.
Singh's niece says she went to school with the 16-year-old who lived in the house.
I tried to get a hold of her after I saw the fire and stuff, but nobody can get a hold of her right now.
Police say an incident like this is very tough on the community and also for first responders. And the hunt for clues will take quite a while. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
A significant development tonight to yesterday's top story, those demonstrations outside a Thornhill synagogue. Tonight, York Regional Police say 3 people are facing charges. CBC Toronto spoke to a woman who says she was kicked in the stomach during the dueling protests, and we're not identifying her because she fears for her personal safety.
It happened really fast. I just got kicked in the stomach by a guy. I am still really crampy and tender from the hit that I got, and I am going to be following up with my doctors to make sure there isn't any internal damage.
Yesterday, she and other pro-Palestinian demonstrators protested outside the synagogue for multiple hours. The synagogue had rented out its space to a real estate event marketing properties for sale in the occupied West Bank. Things became volatile as counter-protesters shouted down the initial demonstration for being outside a place of worship. Today, police announcing 3 charges stemming from the incident. A Vaughan woman allegedly threatened to spray coyote repellent at a protester. She faces dangerous weapons and assault charges. A man from Markham also was charged, and police say he was carrying a knife. And a man from Vaughan allegedly assaulted a woman. The police hate crime prevention unit is handling the investigation. A 24-year-old Brampton man is facing 168 charges connected to fraudulent car deals. Police say Milton Hilton used loopholes in Service Ontario practices allowing authorized people to conduct third-party transactions. Over 100 vehicles from across the province were involved, and some confirmed to be stolen. Police are in contact with some of the victims who have allegedly had their cars registered to their name by Hilton. A large number of these vehicles are still on the road. Investigators believe that members of Hilton's family and other suspects may be involved. 3 men, including 2 Toronto residents, are facing first-degree murder charges tonight. It comes more than a year after a man and pregnant woman were found dead in Bowmanville. Dale Manukduk has the update.
It was back on February 4th, 2023, that Durham police found 28-year-old Aram Kamel and 26-year-old Rafad Al-Zubadi dead. They were found on the main floor of a Bowmanville home on Crombie Street.
The victims were shot multiple times at close range. Miss Al-Zubadi was 6 months pregnant at the time of her murder.
A friend of Al-Zubadi's tells CBC Toronto she was an incredible person and would have been an even more amazing mother. Police say the killings were targeted. On Monday, more than a year after their murders, police arrested a man in his 20s. Then on Wednesday, 2 other men, also in their 20s, were taken into custody. 2 of the men are from Toronto, while the other has no fixed address. All 3 are facing 2 charges of first-degree murder. But investigators say there's more work to be done.
We do believe that there are other people that are responsible for arranging this murder, and that's what we're asking for the public. If they have any information in relation to that, to contact police.
Police say Aram Kamel was in legal trouble, but investigators don't believe that it's connected to the murders.
Well, I certainly can tell you there is more to the story. At this point, though, considering that we are still investigating this and these individuals are now before the courts, I'm unable to provide any specific evidence related to that.
Investigators are still working to determine the motives of the murders. Police say that the 3 men who were arrested and charged have been remanded into custody and are awaiting bail hearings. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Bowmanville.
Back in Toronto, police are investigating a fatal shooting at an upscale condo complex in Etobicoke.
I heard like a pop, 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 pops, like several pops, and I knew at least that there was a gunshot. So I ran outside my balcony to see what was going on. I saw a young man, gentleman, running towards 10 Eva, which is across my condo, like my balcony. And he was looking back, and I was like, something's not right.
Okay, so this happened last night around 8:30 near the West Mall. Witnesses say the victim was lying on the ground next to a white sedan. He was rushed to a trauma center where he later died. The victim has been identified as 29-year-old Libin Hussein. Police have not released any information on possible suspects, but the homicide unit has taken over the investigation. Turning our attention now to fresh demands to improve outdated Ontario schools. With multiple recent cases of the measles reported in the province, advocates are calling for better ventilation and filtration in classrooms. Tyler Cheese has more.
Advocacy group Ontario School Safety is asking the province to provide funding to help stop the spread of measles in schools. Measles is among the most contagious viruses in the world, according to infectious disease experts.
So much so that it hangs around in the air for up to 2 hours after somebody who has been infected has left it.
The group wants to see improvements made to air quality in schools and on school buses.
Improvements in ventilation and filtration are pretty much a requirement across the board. We have a lot of schools in the province that are operating past their life expectancy.
In recent weeks, several cases have been confirmed across Canada, including one last week in York Region, the 4th case confirmed in Ontario. Several public health boards, like here in Toronto, are urging people to be vigilant with March break coming up. That's prompted Ontario School Safety to call on the province to fund new solutions. But experts say while improving air quality is a good idea in general, it isn't the most effective way to combat measles outbreaks.
The best thing they could do is really increase the measles vaccination and enforce mandatory vaccinations. And so if someone is not immunized or not adequately immunized, they should not be going to school and exposing other kids until they get their measles vaccine.
She says the recent spike is likely due to vaccine hesitancy after the pandemic, as well as people not having easy access to vaccinations.
That's where, vaccine clinics, either if there's an outbreak going on in the school or public health vaccination clinics, I think that could really help.
And for those who are hesitant,
we go back to science. So the measles vaccine has been around for 60 years. It's saved has saved people's lives.
In addition to better air quality, Ontario School Safety is also asking the province to fund public education campaigns on vaccination. In response to the group's request, the Ministry of Health says the province has invested more than $665 million to improve ventilation and filtration in all of its schools since August 2020. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, here is a live look at Toronto this Friday evening. 8 degrees in the city right now, and a special weather statement remains in effect. Victor, significant rainfall expected through the evening and into tomorrow, right?
Well, Chris, we are expecting that rain to fall right around now. It should be starting the GTA and expected to last all the way through to about the end of your day Sunday. And when that day on Sunday is all done, well, we're going to expect that rain to turn into flurries. But the good news is when all that precipitation from the rain and the flurries is all done, we're expecting some sun to be passing our way on Monday. Now, overnight tonight, we're expecting it to be quite mild. It's not going to be as cold as it has been earlier in previous weeks. But one thing to note, we're looking at our 3- and 5-day forecast is we're going to be getting that rain all day on Saturday. Sunday, we're expecting the temperatures to drop right around midnight from Sunday, Monday. And by the time we reach our Monday, that's going to be a day where temperatures will start to increase back to the mild variety. Now, don't forget, in the month of February, we only had about 33 millimeters of rain to fall. So on a day like Saturday, we're expecting closer to 20 millimeters. It seems quite significant in comparison to what we've received before. Make sure to stay tuned to Chris and I, see what else is in store for your weather. Over to you, Chris.
All right, Victor, we'll talk to you again a little later on in the show. Welcome back. Today is International Women's Day, and as we recognize the global fight for gender equality, advocates are calling on the federal government to do more to support thousands of migrant care workers, most of whom are women. As Patrick Swadden explains, many of those workers are worried they may face deportation.
And I am a former care worker.
On a day focused on women's rights, a group with a simple demand.
We are here to call on Prime Minister Trudeau to give all migrant care workers in Canada permanent resident status.
The Migrant Workers Alliance for Change says getting PR is a punishing task at best for thousands of migrant care workers who take care of children, the sick, and elderly.
They must fulfill impossible requirements even after they have worked for more than 12 months. You don't have to pay.
Arlena Gillian is from the Philippines, working in Canada since 2019, but says she can't get her education accredited in Canada and faces grueling hours as a care worker.
My hair started falling off, and it caused me depression.
Migrant workers won the right to study in 2023, but the Alliance says many are unable to pay high international tuition fees or study while working full-time.
I can't prepare, I can't focus. I needed preparation to help myself for the test day.
Meanwhile, the required English test score for the care worker programs is level 5, exceeding even the requirement for Canadian citizenship. Mary Cruz has taken the test 7 times at $350 for each try.
I can communicate clearly with my employers and everyone else. You can ask them.
But Cruz says this still isn't enough.
It has been more than 6 years and I still not able to apply for permanent residence.
Meanwhile, with any break taken from the required 12 months of work, the experience expires and workers must start work anew. And now the home child care provider and home support worker pilots, 2 programs started in 2019, are set to expire in 3 months, leaving many in limbo.
Workers have no idea what is going to happen after that. The announcement hasn't been made.
The Alliance says thousands of care workers have now become undocumented and are worried about deportation. They're calling on the government to regularize undocumented workers and provide a path to permanent residency through an interim program without the strenuous language or education requirements, and by removing caps on how many PR applications can be processed. The government did not respond to our request by deadline. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ford government is giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to a Toronto-based organization that encourages girls to get involved in sports.
The government is investing $380,000 to help CWS create exclusive sport programming that directly addresses the needs of girls.
The money will go to an Ontario-based grant program called The Next Play. It provides community-based support and recreation organizations with the resources needed to design programs that appeal to girls from diverse backgrounds. All right, let's help you get set for the weekend as we look live at Windsor, currently sitting at 11 degrees. And we are expecting tonight significant rain to continue through the overnight and into tomorrow. Victa is here with where things go from there.
Well, taking a look at those overnight temperatures, when we start our day tomorrow, it's going to be pretty mild, around 7 degrees. And that's due to a lot of that wind which is coming in from the south. And those south winds, we're going to be having gusts closer to around 50 kilometers per hour. Now, in the wake of all of that rain right around the middle of the day, it's going to last for another 12 hours. And about midday on Sunday, around 10 o'clock at night on Sunday, we'll be experiencing more of the flurries versus the rain that we passing earlier in the day. Now, taking a look at the wind gusts, as we talked about earlier, we're expecting the winds to pick up from the overnight into your Saturday morning with wind gusts closer to 50, even 60 kilometers per hour. But as we get later on into your day on Saturday, when that rain starts to fall, about 20 millimeters in total, we're going to be seeing a shift in the wind. Right around midnight, that wind is going to shift from the south all the way to the north. And on a day where Saturday is going to be a high of 8 degrees, we're going to be having a day like Sunday where it's only going to be a high of around 3 degrees. And that's due to all of those north winds which will be bringing us flurries and not enough rain like as if we received on Saturday. Speaking of rainfall totals, we can see right around here, we're only going to be receiving, when it's all said and done, closer to about 20, maybe 25 millimeters. And areas more north of the GTA could be receiving closer to that 40, which we did see on that special weather statement. Now, a quick look at our 3- and 5-day forecast. We can see that we're expecting that rain on Saturday as well as the flurries on Sunday. But when it comes to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we can see the temperatures start to increase back to milder temperatures. Now, we're going to be having quite the mild temperatures for your March break. But once March break is all said and done, we're going to be experiencing temperatures which will start to dip back again. But before we get there, let's enjoy the beautiful March break temperatures we have ahead. And luckily, all that snow and rain is on the weekend and not during the week when we have all the activities planned. Hope you all have a great night. Over to you, Chris.
Good point, Victa. Thank you. And if you're still looking for something to do inside this weekend, the National Home Show gets going. We know housing is, of course, a challenge in this city. And one of the focuses this year is unique housing solutions like laneway homes and garden suites.
Maybe it's for your parents to live in. Maybe it's for your kids to rent from you. Maybe you just want to move into the little house and rent out your big house. It's the missing middle of real estate here in the city, and we've got a lot of experts here to share info.
The show looks at the latest design trends, and it also has displays on smart home tech and sustainable building. Stay with us. We'll be right back. This week marked Toronto's 190th birthday, and there's a big party happening tomorrow to celebrate it. The event at Nathan Phillips Square will include a market, skating, and performances. And Talia Ricci has more on the milestone and how it's being recognized.
Hogtown, the Big Smoke, the Six, Toronto's gone through a lot of changes and a lot of nicknames throughout its history. This week, the city is celebrating its 190th birthday.
Our city's a unique city. To me, it's the best city in the world, and it's about kind of instilling that community spirit in everybody that visits Toronto or lives in Toronto.
Standing tall and proud for 190 years.
Nathan Phillips Square will be transformed into a big birthday party on Saturday. It's being put on by a nonprofit called Celebrate Toronto, and there will be dozens of vendors, fireworks, and performances. It started as a small art show 10 years ago and has since grown into a massive annual event.
You get to learn a lot about the city in one place. You get to meet so many entertainers and artists and small businesses. It's where everybody comes together and you have that one thing in common with everybody there. Everybody's here to love their city, support their city.
Two young brothers that by their late 20s had built and owned somewhere around 100 theaters.
Here's another lover and supporter of our city, the founder of Old Toronto series. Morgan Cameron Ross is passionate about sharing the history of people and places in the city.
I find Toronto to be fascinating for so many different reasons, but for me, the main thing that I always come back to is the immigrant experience and how many different nationalities and ethnicities have moved here every decade. Celebrating Toronto's 190th year from becoming Toronto rather than its prior York is just an opportunity to think back on the history of our city.
When it was incorporated as a city in 1834, Toronto's population was around 9,000. Now it's over 3 million. Toronto was the first incorporated city in Ontario. Mayor Olivia Chow posted about the milestone this week, acknowledging the city's Indigenous history.
I am so proud to live in a city where my children are raised around so many different and varying cultures.
And with that also comes a vast food scene.
I've seen how far the city has come in the last 30, 35 years. So even in that short gap, we've seen so much growth and so much evolution in terms of in the culinary space.
The whole barbecue chicken or the half barbecue chicken, and you got to get that peri-peri sauce.
Ultimately, Toronto is a city of neighborhoods. We have so many neighborhoods, so many languages. And what's interesting is in each one of those neighborhoods, you have these micro-regional cuisines now. So it's not just about cuisine from India or cuisine from Pakistan. It's from a specific city. It's from Lahore or from Karachi or from Kerala. And I think that's really interesting.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is City Sightseeing Toronto's Hop On, Hop Off tour.
But enough from the locals. Let's hear what visitors have to say. Where are you visiting from?
London, UK.
And what are your thoughts so far on Toronto?
It's a great city. It's very well connected. I really enjoy going around, and it's really easy, accessible.
Where are you visiting from?
Boston, Mass.
And what do you think so far of Toronto?
It's much bigger and more congested than I expected.
Some of the people in Toronto call it the center of the universe. Do you agree?
To be honest, yes, I do.
Wow.
Because, one of the things that surprised me was our traditional food. It's hard to find, and I travel a lot, so it's hard to find good traditional food. But whatever I've had here, it's been really good, so I actually believe it.
Wow, okay, what kind of traditional food?
So it's mostly curries, biryani, naan, because we are from Pakistan. So that's our traditional food, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get nice halal food with the actual authentic taste, and we've actually had it here.
While Celebrate Toronto's upcoming event is focused on this anniversary, their goal is to honor the city's people and the shared journey that lies ahead all year long. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Out east in Oshawa, they have something to celebrate as well, their 100th anniversary, and that is today. The mayor says the city has a deep history and still has a lot to offer.
Be curious about our community. Don't pass judgment on us, because I think a lot of people have this perception of who we are, and we're a really fascinating city once you take a look at us.
Oshawa was officially declared a city on March 8, 1924. A special event was held today for the centennial celebrations, and it featured performances that showcase the city's history and diversity. There was also free skating and swimming at community centers across the city tonight. And that's it for us tonight. Shannon Martin has you covered tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next week.